Hello, everybody. I'm so pleased to be able to talk with you again. I'm here with another video for preparation for the meeting, this midweek meeting. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. So let's start by reading the first Bible text, Deuteronomy 24, verse 1. While we read Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1, we are going to focus on the question that is in the screen. Why should we not conclude that the Mosaic law made it easy for a man to divorce his wife? Deuteronomy 24, verse 1, it says, in case a man takes a woman and does make her his possession as a wife, it must also occur that if she should find no favor in his eyes because she has found something indecent on her part, he must also write out a certificate of divorce for her and put it in her hand and then dismiss her from his house. So I'm going to be answering right now the question. Okay, the answer is in the screen. We go to the inside book, pages 639, under the subheading divorce. What was divorce according to this book? Legal dissolution of the marital union. Hence, the severance of the marriage bond between a husband and a wife. When God anointed Adam and Eve in wedlock, he made no provision for divorce. Matthew chapter 19, verse 3 to 8, and it says, and Pharisees came up to him, intent on tempting him, and saying, is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife on every sort of ground? In reply, he said, did you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, for this reason, a man will leave his father and his mother and will stick to his wife, and the two will be one flesh, so that they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has yoked together, let no man put apart. They said to him, why then did Moses prescribe giving a certificate of dismissal and divorcing her? He said to them, Moses, out of regard for your hard-heartedness, made the concession to you of divorcing your wives. But such has not been the case from the beginning. What was that beginning that he was talking about? Let's read Genesis chapter 2, verse 22 to 24. It reads, and Jehovah God proceeded to build the rib that he had taken from the man into a woman and to bring her to the man. Then the man said, this is at last bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one will be called woman, because from man this one was taken. That is why a man will leave his father and his mother, and he must stick to his wife, and they must become one flesh. Okay, so my opinion would be, so if people are heartless, as Jesus described, then it's a justification for God to make a provision, to make an exception. If people don't have a kind heart, a good heart, what would happen if the opposite happens in the case of the woman? What I mean is, what if the woman really become bored of the man? Can the woman also ask for a certificate of divorce? Let's continue reading. Though divorce was allowed among the Israelites on various grounds as a concession, God regulated in his law given to Israel through Moses. Let's read Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1. In case a man takes a woman and does make her his possession as a wife, it must also occur that if she should find no favor in his eyes, because she has found something indecent on her part, he must also write out a certificate of divorce for her and put it in her hand and dismiss her from his house. Again, my question, what would happen if the man is such an indecent person? Would the woman be allowed to do the same procedure? Just what something indecent, literally the nakedness of a thing, was not especially stated. That was not adultery indicated by the fact that God's law given to Israel decreed that those guilty of adultery be put to death, not merely be divorced. But what do we understand for the word indecent then? 22 to 24, it says, in case a man is found lying down with a woman owned by an owner, both of them must then die together, the man lying down with the woman and the woman. So you must clear away what is bad out of Israel. In case there happened to be a virgin girl engaged to a man, and a man actually found her in the city and lay down with her, you must also bring them both out to the gate of that city and pelt them with stones, and they must die. The girl for the reason that she did not scream in the city, and the man for the reason that he humiliated the wife of his fellow man. So you must clear away what is evil from your midst. Something interesting is that if you continue reading Deuteronomy chapter 22 onwards, you would find something interesting that in that situation, the the two witness rule is avoided if the girl is assaulted in the field and she shouts for help, but no one is there to help her. On base of that accusation of the woman, the man is found guilty. I would analyze this later. Oh no, right now, because I have my gem there, my picture of the gem that I like. The question as usual, what spiritual gems from this week's Bible reading would you like to share regarding God, the field ministry, or something else? I chose Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 1 to 2. I read it again. In case a man takes a woman and does make her his possession as a wife, it must also occur that if she should find no favor in his eyes, because he has found something indecent on her part, he must also write out a certificate of divorce for her and put it in her hand and dismiss her from his house. And she must go out of his house and go and become another man. Another man. This is why I say Old Testament procedures are no longer valid and to put into practice today. Okay? Because this was just a provision for men, not women. Not that I found in the Bible anyway. Another Bible verse that I like. 24 verse 5, it says, in case a man takes a new wife, he should not go out into the army, nor should anything else be imposed onto him. He should continue exempt at his house for 1 year, and he must make his wife, whom he has taken, rejoice. Nice command. This verse could be easily applied, but if you were to apply a procedure from the Old Testament, then you should apply all of them, not just cherry picking what is convenient for you. No. If something is written in the New Testament and also in the Old Testament, yes, you can apply the same procedure. But if the New Testament is silent, Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 10 to 13. Let's read what it has to say. You will be surprised what phone I'm using. I am using a second-hand mobile phone. Okay, let's read Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 10 to 13. It says, in case you lend your fellow man a loan of any sort, you must not enter into his house to take from him what he has pledged. You should stand on the outside, and the man to whom you are making a loan should bring the pledge outside to you. And if the man is in trouble, you must not go to bed with his pledge. You should by all means return the pledge to him as soon as the sun sets, and he must go to bed in his garment, and he must bless you, and it will mean righteousness for you before Jehovah your God. A nice command, as I've seen with my own eyes while walking, exactly the opposite. And I must say, I felt pity over them and their misery. Yes, several days during the week when I was working, I all the time commute to my job. So every time I went to work, I see this. Here in my country, if you live in a house, you need to pay taxes for just living there, with the excuse that you would have security, your neighborhood would be clean, you would have things that really are not provided by the government. But the government charges you just for living in a house. I don't know if your country happens the same, but here you have that. And I, with pity, I saw the belongings of a family outside the house. And I said, why they don't have compassion over the family that don't have money to pay? The government has a lot of money from the taxes that they already charge big companies. So it is just a matter of compassion. It happens here in my country that when the two parents die, what happens is that the children are the ones inheriting the house and they live there. They have their things, their beds, bedrooms, living room, dining room, kitchen, bathroom. They have all because it is an inheritance. It is a it belongs to the family, okay? But the parents are dead. So what happens? What happens is that The government said, okay, you need to pay. You need to pay for just living. And sometimes it happens that the children are unemployed. Perhaps they are 18, 20, or even older, but they don't work. They don't have job. We have economical crisis right now. So what happens? Okay, if you don't pay, I get all your belongings outside your house and I take your house. That really is not justice. And this command in Deuteronomy chapter 24 is really an example how governments should guide themselves. It's not fair to do that to a family. It's not fair. It's their house. So they really don't have money to pay. Some of you may be saying they have money, but they don't want to pay. Yes, but to take the belongings of a person out of the house and put them in the street, it is not fair, and it causes the family to be humiliated. Do we want families to be humiliated? Families not to be respected, families not to be treated with dignity? It's not fair. Anyway, let's move on. Deuteronomy 24, verse 16. It says, Fathers, you fathers should not be put to death on account of children, and children should not be put to death on account of fathers. Each one should be put to death for his own sin. What about the opposite? We all die because of what our first father, Adam, did. So every time you read this Bible verse, ask this question: what about the opposite? Not fair, isn't it? Let's move on. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 19 to 22. It reads, in case you reap your harvest in your field and you have forgotten a sheaf in the field, you must now go back to get it. It should stay for the alien resident, for the fatherless boy, and for the widow, in order that Jehovah your God may bless you in every deed of your hand. In case you beat your olive tree, you must now go over its boughs, following up yourself. It should stay for the alien resident, for the fatherless boy, and for the widow. In case you gather the grapes of your vineyard, you must not gather the leftovers following up yourself. They should stay for the alien resident, for the fatherless boy, and for the widow. And you must remember that you became a slave in the land of Egypt. That is why I'm commanding you to do this thing. I have witnessed here in my country, anyway, how they throw food. They openly do it, taking pics or recording throwing to the refuse. In TV and internet, we can witness how food is wasted for the only purpose of entertaining people. Here in my country, we have delivery men. For example, if I've got a mobile phone, I can ask food to be delivered to my house. So the delivery man goes to the company, to the restaurant. After that, after he picks up the food, it happens that he brings the food to me. But sometimes, due to several reasons, that I don't receive the food, or perhaps I don't have money, or perhaps they don't arrive with the address I gave, or any other reason. Or perhaps the client just canceled the order, the delivery man should should throw the food, the hamburgers, the pizzas, or whatever fast food, or any food that they they bring to the client and the client eventually reject it. They should throw it to the rubbish and they should take pick of that food. Is that is that fair? You may say, oh, but it's the food of the business, is money. Yes, but that food is being thrown to the rubbish, to the refuse, and they are forced to take pick of that food in the refuse. Why not sharing that food? Why you need to throw it to the rubbish? I saw that, and it's so disgraceful, so not nice to see that. And of course, in TV commercials, advertisements, whatever you watch, you see soap operas, TV series, and you have there sometimes what is called food war, and they throw food, they they just waste the food in order that you get entertained. Not fair as well. Not fair. And this happens everywhere. Rich countries, poor countries. I mean, if you are in a position to waste food, why don't you donate the food rather than to waste it? Not good. I don't agree with that kind of entertainment. Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 1 to 3. It reads, in case a dispute arises between men and they have presented themselves for the judgment, they must also judge them and pronounce the righteous one righteous and pronounce the wicked one wicked. And it must occur that if the wicked one deserves to be beaten, the judge must also have him laid prostrate and given strokes before him by number to correspond with his wicked deed. With 40 strokes he may beat him. He should add none, for fear he should continue to beat him with many strokes in addition to this. And your brother is actually disgraced in your eyes. Today, this is still being done in my country, in the Highlands, which is completely disgraceful from the first stroke, not waiting to the stroke number 40. A little bit of history in my country. Around 40 years ago, 40 or 35 years ago, we've got terrorists here in my country. Terrorists, especially in the highlands of my country. And sometimes the government don't have presence in all little towns in the highlands. So terrorists have their paradise there. In those times, they had their paradise. So what they did is that they organized the people living in those little towns, organized to create like a police, like a police And what was their purpose? To offer security to the town and also to give punishment to the disorderly ones. They give punishment to thieves, to prostitutes, and adulterous people, people like that. They gave judgment. I mean, they were constituted just to protect the community, but they abuse of that authority. They have really abused. So if you really were doing no harm to anyone, but you were, for example, a drunkard or an adulterous person or a prostitute, you were to be beaten. Still practiced in some little towns right now at the moment, but very isolated towns. So that happened in my country, it's still happening. And it is disgraceful, something that should not be done, because the person who is receiving the beatings or the strikes, you are taking away from that person the dignity, self-respect, self-confidence, self-esteem, all of that. Not good. Another Bible verse, Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 11 to 12. Okay, as I was saying a moment ago, I've got a second-hand mobile phone, which is a little bit slow. Let's read 11:12. It says, in case men struggle together with one another, and the wife of the one has come near to deliver her husband out of the hand of the one striking him, and she has thrust out her hand and grabbed hold of him by his privates, you must then amputate her hand. Your eye must feel no sorrow. Interesting. Do we have a Bible verse that says God never changes? Were the Bible verses I've just read in any time did on a woman? Read again, Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 11 to 12. That can be called barbarian. That is the word, barbarian. And I don't like those Bible verses. I don't like. I'm not even saying they are not my favorite. I don't like them. Deuteronomy 26, verse 16 to 19, it says, this day Jehovah your God is commanding you to carry out these regulations and judicial decisions, and you must observe and carry them out with all your heart and your soul. Jehovah you have induced to say today that he will become your God, while you walk in his ways and observe his regulations and his commands and his judicial decisions, and listen to his voice. As for Jehovah, he has induced you to say today that you will become his people, a special property, just as he has promised you, and that you will observe all his commandments, and that he will put you high above all the other nations that he has made, resulting in praise and reputation and beauty, while you prove yourself a people holy to Jehovah your God, just as he has promised. Are we to obey my previous verses? For example, Deuteronomy 25, 11 to 12, were the Israelites required to obey? No, I don't. I won't obey what is written in Deuteronomy chapter 25. I won't obey it. I have morals. And if that means death, so be it. I believe that Deuteronomy chapter 25, the whole chapter 25, is immoral and barbarian, as I said. Apply yourself to the Bill ministry. Let's examine the talk. Theme: how can we console and support widows and widowers? Help others deal with distress, sorry. As I was saying, I received a second-hand mobile phone. And is this? Apple iPhone. But this iPhone comes from 2015. Is the iPhone 6. So you can imagine how slow it is. First Peter chapter 3, verse 8. Let's read what it has to say. It says, finally, all of you be like-minded, showing fellow feeling, having brotherly affection, tenderly compassionate, humble in mind. It says, tenderly compassionate. What we have just read in Deuteronomy chapter 25, is it compassionate what we have in the Old Testament in Deuteronomy chapter 25, as it is encouraged here to be tenderly compassionate? Sometimes the New Testament contradicts the Old Testament. How can we imitate our loving Father? God loves us deeply. We want to imitate him. Do you know what 1 John chapter 3 verse 16 says? Many people knows what it reads, but I do it again. By this, we have come to know love, because that one surrendered his soul for us, and we are under obligation to surrender our souls for our brothers. Oh no, sorry, I'm reading 1 John. It is just John. I made a terrible mistake, but I'm surprised that it's quite the same message. Yeah, it's quite the same message if you read 1 John chapter 3 verse 16. But the correct scripture is John chapter 3 verse 16. It says, for God loved the world so much that he gave his only begotten Son, in order that everyone exercising faith in him might not be destroyed, but have everlasting life. And now let's read 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 8. It reads, finally, all of you be like-minded, showing fellow feeling, having brotherly affection, tenderly compassionate, humble in mind. When members of our spiritual family face stressful challenges, we want to help them. As it is written in Galatians chapter 6, verse 10. 6:10, it reads, really, then, as long as we have time favorable for it, let us work what is good toward all, but especially toward those related to us in the faith. Be patient, as evidently by 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 7 to 8, What bad decision did Lot make, and with what results? Let's read what it has to say in 2 Peter chapter 2, verse 7 to 8. As far as I know, it's not talking about Lot's decision. Let's read. And he delivered righteous Lot, who was greatly distressed by the indulgence of the law-defying people in loose conduct. For that righteous man, by what he saw and heard while dwelling among them from day to day, was tormenting his righteousness soul by reason of their lawless deeds. Does it say something about decisions here? I haven't read anything about decisions here in those Bible verses. Lot made a bad decision when he chose to live among the grossly immoral people of Sodom. Really, where in the Bible said that Lot knew what sort of people were living in Sodom and Gomorrah? Where the Bible says that? How do we know that? Is it written in the Bible? How did God prove to be patient with Lot? Yes, we have in the Bible written and recorded that God was patient to Lot. But what I don't like is, okay, it says, however, when the dawn ascended, then the angels became urgent with Lot, saying, get up, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are found here, for fear you may be swept away in the error of the city. When he kept lingering, then in the compassion of Jehovah upon him, the man seized hold of his hand and of the hand of his wife and of the hands of his 2 daughters, and they proceeded to bring him out and to station him outside the city. And it came about that as soon as they had brought them forth to the outskirts, he began to say, escape for your soul. Don't look behind you, and don't stand still in all the district. Escape to the mountainous region, for fear calamity may keep close to me, and I certainly die. Please now, this city is nearby to flee there, and it is a small thing. May I, please, escape there? Is it not small thing, and my soul will live on? So he said to him, here I do show you consideration to this extent also, by my not overthrowing the city of which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, because I'm not able to do a thing until you arrive in there. That is why he called the name of the city Zoar. I was lost. I think I was lost because this mobile phone is, well, God proved to be patient with Lot, but 2 things. When Lot was delaying too much to get out of the city, the 2 angels who were with them grabbed them by the hands, and I don't know, miraculously they fly perhaps, or run like Flash Gordon, like Flash only. Flash Gordon is another, like Flash to the end of the city. We don't know. It does not specify that. But because they were slow, God took consideration of them. And also when Lot felt afraid to go to the mountains, he wanted to go to a nearby city. That city was to be destroyed because God said that all of that region should be destroyed. But because of him, it is written in the scriptures, he felt compassion towards Lot. And he said, okay, go there. But if we continue reading the account, we would see that Lot never arrived to that city that he said, let me go to this city. No, he eventually remained in the mountains. A genius Lot. Let's move on. Living as Christians, treat older women as mother, younger women as sisters. I'm going to be talking about a video that will be shown in the meeting about a nation, single mother, widower, single with a widower who is still single. Such a beautiful sister with her beautiful daughters. That's all I have to say about them. So beautiful. I am quite surprised that the beloved sister is still single because she's so beautiful. If you want to watch that video, I can inform you how to access that video. But I'm going to just discuss the answers of that video, not the video in itself. Perhaps in the future I would do this, like playing the video in the screen when I have more budget. Okay, the answers for this part are the following. How did the congregation show outstanding love to Sister Mint? This video was shown in the 2019 Regional Convention, Love Never Fails. If it is a heavy rainy day, why they can just cancel the Bible study or postpone it? Yeah, in the video, we see that the husband, in the middle of the heavy rain, he went to a Bible study just riding, not a motorbike, just a bicycle. He got an accident and died. That's why I said that. More than 6 hours after they left home, the sister received the news of her husband's death. His husband was. How did the love shown by the congregation give a good witness to the village? Sister Mint is so beautiful and she needed to receive comfort that same night, but she refrained due to bad weather. The only thing she did was to read the publication for comfort, but unexpectedly, she received the visit of 3 brothers who rode their bikes for more than 2 hours. So the story of this sister is that she lost her husband. Her husband was so dear to her because she needed comfort. As many of us, if we lose someone we love in death, but the heavy rain was still going. I think in Thailand, because this is an experience. No, sorry, this is not Thailand, it's Myanmar. I think Myanmar and Southeast Asian countries, we have heavy rains lasting more than 24 hours. Huh? I can see that. Not in my country. I experienced just what, 12 hours heavy rain. That's it. No more. So that night she needed comfort, but she hadn't told anyone about her misery. She was concerned about the heavy rain. But brothers arrived, even though it was dangerous to go out in that situation. So that was part of video presented in that regional convention, Love Never Fails. And it is true, love never fails. If you've got that kind of people who care about you, yes, that truly can be love, can be called love. People may say, oh, but it's conditional love because of these fellowship ones and things like that. Could be conditional love. Yes, I don't deny that. But in this particular case, that really don't matter. It's uh, it's a matter that you are risking your life to go to encourage a person. That is the most important. If it is conditional, no problem. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to the Congregation Bible Study, Pure Worship of Jehovah Restored at Last, chapter 12. I will make them one nation. Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 22. We are going to analyze this book because this is a book. Pure Worship of Jehovah. I've got my copy. You've got it in the screen, so you can read along with me. Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 22. It reads, and I shall actually make them one nation in the land, on the mountains of Israel, and on one king is what all of them will come to have a king, as king. And they will no longer continue to be two nations, nor will they be divided any longer into two kingdoms. Question 1 to 2. Why might the exiles be alarmed? B. Why are they in for a surprise? Under divine direction, Ezekiel has conveyed a number of prophecies to the exiles in Babylon by means of visible signs. The first prophecy acted out by Ezekiel contained a judgment message. The second one also, the third one too, and so on. Let's read Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 24 to 26. It reads, then a spirit entered to me and made me stand up on my feet. And he began to speak with me and say to me, come. Oh, yeah. Come, be shut up inside your house. And you, O son of man, look, they will certainly put cords upon you and bind you with them, so that you cannot go forth into the midst of them. And your very tongue I will make stick to the roof of your mouth, and you will certainly become mute, and you will not become to them a man administering reproof, because they are rebellious, they are a rebellious house. There is one message of condemnation here. Now let's read Ezekiel 4, 1 to 7. It says, and you, O son of man, take for yourself a brick, and you must put it before you and engrave upon it a city, even Jerusalem, and you must lay siege against it, and build a siege wall against it, and throw up a siege rampart against it, and set encampments against it, and put battering rams all around against it. And as for you, take to yourself an iron girdle, and you must put it as an iron wall between you and the city, and you must fix your face against it, and it must get to be in a siege, and you must besiege it. It is a sign to the house of Israel. And as for you, lie upon your left side, and you must lay the error of the house of Israel upon it. For the number of the days that you will lie upon it, if you will carry their error, and I myself must give to you the years. This phone is not useful because it's an apple. It's an apple. Can you continue later with the reading? I got lost. Yeah, you read by yourself Ezekiel 4, 1 to 7. Now, Ezekiel chapter 5, verse 1. Let's read what it has to say. And as for you, O son of... Oh my God. Yeah. And as for you, O son of man, take for yourself a sharp sword. As a barber's razor, you will take it for yourself, and you must make it pass along upon your head and upon your beard. And you must take for yourself weighing scales and divide the hair in portions. Okay. And Ezekiel chapter 12, verse 3 to 6. It reads, and as for you, O son of man, make up for yourself luggage for exile, and go into exile in the daytime before their eyes. And you must go into exile from your place to another place before their eyes. Perhaps they will see, though they are a rebellious house. And you must bring out your luggage like luggage for exile in the daytime before their eyes. And you yourself will go out in the evening before their eyes like those being brought forth for exile. Before their eyes, bow your way through the wall. Wait. Let's move on. The Bible is not working properly, but you have the Bible verses in the screen. You can read it in your house. In fact, all the prophecies that he has acted out by signs have conveyed messages of fierce judgment against the Jews. Imagine, therefore, how alarmed the exiles must be when Ezekiel again takes his position in front of them, ready to act out another prophecy. Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 23. It reads, and they will no longer defile themselves with their dungy idols, and with their disgusting things, and with all their transgressions. And I shall certainly save them from all their dwelling places, in which they have sinned, and I will cleanse them, and they must become my people, and I myself shall become their God. Okay, they will become one hand. If you have internet right now, of course you are having internet to watch this, but what you can do is to watch the explanation of these Bible verses in the annual meeting of 2015. Part, what? Third part. The third part of the annual meeting of 2015 has the explanation of these Bible verses. Question 3. What was pictured by the stick for Judah? Why did the stick of Ephraim represent the 10th tribe kingdom? The stick that was for Judah represent the second tribe kingdom of Judah and Benjamin. Ezekiel 37, 15 to 16. It reads, "And the word of Jehovah continued to occur to me, saying, And as for you, O son of man, take for yourself a stick and write upon it, for Judah and for the sons of Israel his partners. And take another stick and write upon it, for Joseph the stick of Ephraim, and all the house of Israel his partners." Kings in the line of Judah had ruled the two tribes. Also, the priesthood had been associated with them, for the priests served at the temple in Jerusalem. The priests served at the temple of Jerusalem. Of course, they were. Second Chronicles chapter 11. Second Chronicles chapter 11, verse 13 to 14. It reads, "And the priests and the Levites themselves that were in all Israel took their stand by him out of all their territories. For the Levites left their pasture grounds and their possession, and then came to Judah and Jerusalem, because Jeroboam and his sons had discharged them from acting as priests to Jehovah." Yeah. Okay. Now 34 verse 30. It reads, "The king now went up to the house of Jehovah with all the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and the priests and the Levites, and all the people, the great as well as the small. And he began to read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant, which had been found at the house of Jehovah." Hence, the kingdom of Judah held the Davidic line of kings as well as the Levitical priesthood. Deuteronomy 33, verse 17. It reads, "Oh, as the firstborn of a bull, his splendor is, and his horns are the horns of a wild bull. With them he will push peoples altogether to the ends of the earth. And they are the tens of thousands of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh." The stick of Ephraim represented the 10th tribe kingdom of Israel. In what was the stick associated? Let's read 1 Kings 11:26. 1 King 11:26. It reads, "And there was Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, an Ephraimite from Sereda, a servant of Solomon, and his mother's name was Sirah, a widow woman. He too began to lift up his hand against the king." What does Ezekiel's next action with two sticks illustrate? Ezekiel was further instructed to bring the two sticks together. Ezekiel chapter 37, verse 17 to 19. It reads, and cause them to approach each other into one stick for yourself, and they will actually become just one in your hand. And when the sons of your people begin to say to you, will you not tell us what these things means to you? Speak to them. This is what the sovereign Lord Jehovah has said. Here I'm taking the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel, his partners, and I will put them upon it. That is the stick. That is the stick of Judah, and I shall actually make them one stick, and they must become one in my hand. What is the meaning of what Ezekiel acted out? Exiles from the two-tribe kingdom of Judah and exiles from the 10-tribe kingdom of Israel would be brought to the land of Israel. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you like it, and have a nice day. Bye.